Well, Bear, we've had a little summer vacation, couple of weeks.
We're refreshed, ready to go.
Have you learned anything or done anything fun over those last 2 or 3
Fear
weeks?
the deer. Brewers are back. And Jordan Spieth going for leg number 3 of the Grand Slam next week. But no, I mean, it's been interesting because there's a lot going on locally with Bo retiring and the Brewers playing better. And the Bucks, starting to look like they're for real if they can maybe get an arena to go with it.
What do you say we get everybody caught up on that?
All right, let's do it.
All right, we'll do that coming up on this episode of Extra Points. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you or have you on the other end of your listening devices again.
That's right.
It's been a couple weeks since we've filmed or shot one of these Extra Points, but this is our show where we discuss local sports for the most part, local, state, things like that. And took a couple weeks off after Craig won the Division I baseball title and let things marinate and started summer a little bit since we don't get much of one.
Not as much going on, but still a lot.
There was still plenty
on.
in those last couple of weeks.
Yes,
So
there
we're
are.
going to kind of get you caught up on where the Brewers stand, where the Bucks stand after the draft, and everything else that's trade the free agency window,
Yep.
and the big news about Bo Ryan and the Badgers. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the Crew.
Okay.
As we're filming this today, they just had their 8-game winning streak snap, but it's kind of appeared to be a different team than what they've been the first couple of months. They had 99 hits in 8 games, which that's crazy. I mean, that's the Brewers that I think everybody was hoping to see. And are they too far out of it to do anything now? Yes. Will there still be some trades? Yes, but at least they're somewhat relevant again. That's probably the biggest thing.
Well, I think we talked about it back in April when they were so terrible to start the season. When you get to these dog days of summer where that's the only sport going on, you want to at least be able to turn on your radio or your TV and have something fun to watch or listen to, and it looked like at that point we wouldn't. Well, at least this winning streak and the fact that they're hitting the ball and actually their pitching has come around outside of the guys who were supposed to be good. At least that gives you a reason to turn on that radio if you're outside barbecuing on the deck or driving around. And for a while there, it was like, what's the point of even watching or listening?
Well, and I think the good thing is now if you are going to have a fire sale, you've got some pieces that may bring you something in return. Let's face it, 2 months ago or a month ago, Parra, Lind, Ramirez probably weren't going to get you a whole lot, but now the way they've been swinging the bat, you may get something in return that can help the big club in a couple of years, and I think that's what they're hoping for. We've talked about Garza and Loesch. You can have those two and give me back a bag of balls or something. I don't
even
care.
think anybody's going to be willing to give that up.
But, Parra, Lind, and Ramirez, all three of them have been hot. Ramirez was the player of the week. And, Lind just came off a stretch of, I think, 10 straight games with an RBI. And Parra's been crazy good.
6-game hitting streak, and he's got 2 or more hits in every one of them. He's got some homers, and he would give a team a Gold Glove outfielder. So I think that's a nice piece. I mean, they traded for him last year just for those reasons.
So I still think before it's all said and done, a few of those guys are going to be gone. I'm not saying all of them will, but I think a few of them will be. And, if that gets us into rebuilding mode a little early, then so be it, because, like I say, they're, I think, 10 games still out of the wild card, and you're not going to play 800 ball the rest of the year. So let's be realistic about the whole thing.
Even if they played 500 ball the rest of the year, I think we would take that. At least it would be a product that you could watch, and
fans would still go to Miller Park.
And if they made some moves, you would say, okay, they're working towards something.
Right,
least.
Exactly.
Yep, but I mean, I guess it has been fun, but it's just kind of crazy that
it's too bad they didn't play all their games on the road, because they just seem to be a different team on the road. They're a lot looser, a lot more relaxed. And, last night Loesch comes up in the first inning, gets a 2-run homer, and then he gives up a couple more in the second, and you're like, here we go again. And he's your ace. I mean, he's your number 1 starter, and he's got an ERA over 6. I mean, he's just not good. Yeah. And that's, right, to me, that's their biggest problem right now.
I mean, it's time to just give, and they started it at least now, give Cravey, Youngman, those guys a chance, because what else do you have to lose? Even if they go out and throw up 7 runs in their starts, you're getting the same thing that Loesch and Garza are giving you.
And if you can get rid of Loesch, it's a lot of money off your docket, too.
They finally put Garza on the disabled list. He looks like he'd belong there for the last 6 weeks. So at least they've got him out of there, and maybe they'll get Willie back here, and they can see if he's going to be something or can return. I think he's at least throwing.
Well, and I think when you look with Peralta, Youngman, Fires, Nelson, whomever your fifth starter might be. I mean, that's a pretty good nucleus if you can stay healthy and they can continue to progress. But I think right now with Loesch and Garza at the top of that rotation,
it's a mess.
It is a mess, and it's impeding any progress that they're going to make down the road.
That's the sport that's actually in season right now.
Right.
But the other ones have actually been busier and maybe even more intriguing. The Bucks, I think, with what they've done over the last couple of weeks, I mean, people were already high on them after what they were able to do rebounding under Jason Kidd last year. And now it's just like, wow, this could be something. We're getting to the point where players are choosing Milwaukee over Los Angeles and New York. That was a pretty big deal.
It's kind of shaken the whole landscape of the NBA because you just mentioned it. The fact that Greg Monroe chose Milwaukee for the same amount of money over New York and the Lakers that's big. I mean, Milwaukee was a cesspool, has always been considered a cesspool for free agents for years, and always struggled to bring a big name in. And I'm not saying Greg Monroe is a big name, but I think
he was for this free agency
and I think
period.
He's a good fit. He's not as strong defensively, but with Jabari and Giannis and Henson, they've got guys who can compensate for that. But he can play, he can score and he can pass, and he's certainly an upgrade from Zaza Pachulia. So, I mean, I think for the Bucks, not only that, but then keeping Middleton. If you throw a starting lineup out there of Carter Williams, Middleton, Jabari, Giannis, and Monroe, that's a pretty good starting five. I mean, you're not in the elite company, but you ought to be able to get in the middle of the playoffs, I would think.
Especially in the Eastern Conference, and all those guys are 25 or younger, which gives them a nice young nucleus
and lengthy.
Of players.
They're long. I mean, that's the whole thing, and that's what Jason Kidd likes, and that's what he wants to build around. And you throw that in with Henson off the bench, and you still got O.J. Mayo coming off the bench.
Traded for Dravis Vasquez.
Vasquez, the backup point guard, and then you've got Vaughn, the rookie that they're going to, I think, bring along slowly. But if he can give them that outside shot, kind of the one thing that they really missed last year. You go 8 or 9 deep with that length, that's going to be pretty imposing.
Yep, I think it'll be fun to watch, and it's really kind of added a spark to what I think they needed, because now they've got this arena deal we're getting close. I mean, we need to find out if it's going to happen or not, and I think it's helped spearhead on social media and things like that of just a groundswell of people who are like, wow, we're pretty excited about this team.
Yep.
To the point where maybe we'll call our legislators and say, hey, let's make sure this arena deal gets done so the Bucks actually stay in Wisconsin.
And I think a lot of the legislatures, not all of them, because certainly there's going to be the detractors, but I think some of them that were maybe on the fence or not sure what they wanted to do, I think they realize now that statewide, and I'm not just talking the Milwaukee area, but statewide, I think they realize we're better off with the Bucks in Milwaukee and this new arena than losing them and still having to pay taxes on the Bradley Center and everything else that goes with it. So I think statewide people are realizing that, with everything that's going on and the fact that they're going to put a new arena in, some hotel, and just the amenities themselves, it makes for a good fit. And I think hopefully that'll be enough to get that through.
I feel like it has to. I mean, you also have to look at what the free agents are getting signed for right now, and look at the money that's being thrown around.
Yep.
And that just goes to show how much money there is in the NBA, and to keep that here in Wisconsin, it has to outweigh just not building a new arena.
And you're not going to sway everybody. Certain people are just going to say, no, I don't agree with it. Anything for taxing, I'm not. But
well, like and it's hard for the people like in the northern part of the state to see the advantages.
What does somebody from Eau Claire gain from the Bucks building a new arena?
Right.
Well, maybe not, logistically it doesn't work for them, but I think in the long run they'll realize that it's good for the state. It's bringing in money, and it's paying off some other things that may open up, some other avenues to help pay some, maybe it's roads or education or something like that. And if you're going to tax the wealthy basketball players, and that's going to be part of your revenue, like you said, with salaries increasing the next couple of years and luxury tax going up, I think it's a good move.
And they announced this week, I think this was a good deal too, because you often get Milwaukee and Madison that kind of feel like they're on their own little islands, but the Bucks work to pull those together a little bit. They're going to play a preseason game in Madison, and they're going to do some training camp in Madison. We're going to open a practice for fans and let them watch what goes on. And I think, anything you can do to try to help pull in some fans from other areas of the state to help you.
Well, it was funny. I thought Bo's comment about the fact that he said, I feel like a kid in a candy store
right.
bringing in. And then Jason Kidd comes back. Well, the funny part is some of the guys on the team could still be playing for you. So it's kind of funny, and it looked like they were having fun. And, you just look at Alvarez kind of sitting back there all smug and going, hey, this will work. This will bring some money in. But, a chance for, like you said, the rest of the state and some maybe people from the West to get over to Madison and watch him play. And, Jason Kidd raved about the Kohl Center and the facility and the weight room. And, for them to hold their training camp there, it's pretty cool. It's cool for the fact that, if the arena thing goes through and the Bucks have a solid foundation, then it just, it broadens, the scope of where they might be for the rest of the state.
Speaking of Barry, he's got kind of a decision to make on his hands. He's got to figure out here. It's been a couple of weeks now, but Bo Ryan deciding that this year is going to be his last. Were you surprised when that came out?
I think I was. I think I was surprised because he signed a 5-year contract, and
the timing of it.
The timing of it, I think, is what kind of made me think, well, what's going on here? And then I realized at the end when you punctuate it with, well, I'm retiring, but I'm hoping Greg Gard, my assistant for the last 100 years, it seems like, can step in and fill my shoes, which it sounds simple and the players support him, but let's face it, you got to be able to recruit. And if you want to be an elite program and you want to stay among the top 20 and nationwide, you got to be able to recruit. And I got to believe at some point, I'm not saying he would leave or that it'll happen, but at some point, Tony Bennett's name is going to come up in the discussion because let's face it, at Virginia, he's proven himself. He's a Wisconsin guy. His dad coached at Wisconsin. He was an assistant at Wisconsin. And sometimes that lure of coming back home is too big to pass up. But again, I think Greg Gard is the first choice. But again, I don't think it's set in stone.
It's kind of a weird situation. Like you and I aren't around that team on a daily basis or anything like that. And you hear from all the reporters that are, and they think so highly of Greg Gard and the players and
right.
It seems like everyone does. But when you think about a guy who's never been a head coach getting a job in the Big Ten with a team that's been to 2 Final Fours in a row. I mean, in the national landscape of college basketball, that doesn't add up right now.
Right. And I think if you look at it, if I'm an all-star player from Philadelphia, do I want Tony Bennett sitting in my living room with my parents, or do I want Greg Gard, somebody I've never heard of, sitting in my living room with my parents? So, you got to look at it from the standpoint of the recruits. And, Greg's been instrumental in bringing in, a lot of those recruits. A lot of people say that Greg, sometimes Bo defers to him in practice, and he'll do a lot of teaching. But again, no coaching experience at the varsity or at the head coaching level, and certainly Tony Bennett's track record speaks for itself. And there may be some other names that pop up as well. Shaka Smart at Texas, even though he just took that, he's a local guy. There's some other ones that and I can't believe that they just won't throw some flyers out there just to see what the interest is. I mean, that doesn't mean they may go back to having Gard and just make it an easy transition, but I think you at least got to, out of respect to your fans and the people that are paying for your tickets, you at least got to make it somewhat of a national search.
I think Barry would do that. I
think so.
Somebody put it, he wears those big boy pants and likes to call the shots, so it would be surprised if he at least wouldn't, whether it becomes public or it's under the radar, figure out a way to put some feelers out and have some discussions and see which way he wants to go. So, what else?
Well, Jordan,
your boy,
we won't be here next week, so that runs into the British Open. And now with Rory McIlroy out with a soccer injury, Jordan's going for the 3rd leg of the Grand Slam. And, I think most people tell you the British is the toughest just because it's just a different course. But, it's somewhat similar to what he just won, at the Open, the Link style. So maybe that's an advantage. But I think with McIlroy out of there, Spieth is certainly going to be one of the front runners.
Here's my problem and why I don't think he's going to win.
Okay.
And this is strictly because he seems to be too good of a guy. If you're in the spot that he's in, is there anyone else on the PGA Tour that would be playing in Dubuque or wherever it is over in Iowa this week?
No.
No one. Yet he's going over there because he said that he would, and he's going to stand by his word and go over there. I mean, nobody plays in that tournament.
He's a younger Steve Stricker. That's why I like him.
He's won 2 more majors than Steve.
Well, he has, but I mean, personality-wise, just kind of guy he is. No, but
I mean,
right.
so
it's
you're
about
going over there to play Iowa. I mean, everyone in Iowa. I don't think if he would have backed out, everyone would have been like, well,
okay.
that stinks. But you're going for leg 3 of the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
You're the hottest thing in golf right now. We understand.
Yep.
He's committed to it, which is nice, but now you're putting yourself on a plane on a Sunday to go overseas to try to get your sea legs back to play one of the biggest tournaments of your career.
The biggest, probably.
I don't really get it, but I mean, props to him, I guess, for being a stand-up guy, but...
Well, you're also not 20 and in great shape like Jordan is either.
Hey, I don't know what you're trying to say.
No, what I'm saying is, I think he's trying to do things the right way. And I think he looks at maybe what Tiger did is and that's a bad comparison right now because he's got a long way to go to become Tiger. But I'm just saying your issues off the course and what you do, in your personal life. And I think Jordan's just trying to play it by the straight and narrow and do things the right way. And if that means making a commitment a year ago to play in this tournament, he's fulfilling it. And do I agree with you that it's going to be taxing and it's going to probably maybe cost him the British if it takes too much out of him? Yes. But again, I think he's just trying to do things the right way and maybe make a name for himself that, I'm going to be a good stand-up guy and people are going to like me and maybe that'll work.
Maybe it will. I mean, they have done, to the credit, down at the John Deere, they have, in the recent years, started chartering a plane so anybody who's playing the British gets to get right on that right after tournament's over.
The guy that
fly
wins,
their
it's
families
not qualified,
over
and go over there. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they have done a lot of things to help themselves in that regard. But man, if I'm in his spot, I'm over there a week ago trying to make sure I get used to the time change.
And it is St. Andrews
and everything else.
St. Andrews, they'll tell you, of the links courses and the Scottish courses and the British Open that they played on, is probably the most, I don't want to say easiest, but it's probably the most easy to, course management is probably the easiest on that course just because it's older and it doesn't have the length that some of the other ones do, and the weather doesn't always seem to be as big of a factor as it is in a lot of the other British courses that they play in. So maybe, there's a lot of variables that go into it, but, it's
a weird tournament.
It is.
It can also depend if you're playing morning on one day and the afternoon the other.
Exactly.
Which weather pattern you get.
Yep.
Louis Oosthuizen.
That's who you're going with?
Yeah.
Okay, well, who am I going with?
Wow, you're going Jordan.
There you
Nobody
go.
needs to
Go
ask
with my
you
boy.
that anymore.
Going with my boy.
Anything else on your mind?
No, just in getting back to the golf, I know you saw a very good finish at the Ray Fisher, the State Metal Links Championship, and
Josh Udeloven, 20 under. That's
the youngsters had it going again.
That was fun. It was a fun weekend, and we'll have the city here in a couple of weeks, which might be fun. And it'll be fun to see Udeloven and some of those guys. I know Sam Van Gelder from here in Janesville, Mike Olderich.
Yep.
Those guys have qualified for the State Am, which will be up at Erin Hills, which is a beautiful course. Might have to get up there and check them out. Yep. So that's this month is kind of the big one for golf around here.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll check back in with you guys in 2-3 weeks.
Couple weeks. We'll, get you ready for high school football.
It's right
That's around the corner.
Kind of sick. Till then, check us out on GazetteExtra.com or YouTube or iTunes or wherever you download your podcast from, and we'll keep tabs on some things.
Let us know what you think.
Maybe the Brewers will put another 8-game winning streak together.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
Thanks to Andy Ryder.
Maybe they'll have a different team next time we get together, too.
Yeah, they probably will. Andy Ryder, our producer, and Kevin McLeod
Andy's
on the
best.
tunes,
I'll tell you right now, Andy is the best.
We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.
Okay. Take care, everybody.